Alternative Radio, 24 hours a day.
Hey everybody, welcome to segment 3. As we've been talking about with Dane over the last several minutes, we're talking about a very new economic and social media platform called MedCASH. Again, the CASH stands for Community Action for Social Healthcare. I wanted to get back to everybody and give the correct information about our promotion with Mark's Marine Pharmacy for those people who need to obtain your drugs, your medications at affordable rates. Again, they're in Vancouver, Canada. They're known as Mark's Marine Pharmacy. They have a website, canshipmeds.com, and their toll-free number is 1-877-888-9265. Jordan, who was on our show, would be available to talk with you about your health needs and your pharmaceutical needs, and would be able, by mentioning Frank About Health, give you free shipping through today. Now, other than that, Dane has had a lot of good points here about the economic model surrounding healthcare in this country. He also brought up something for those who listened to the show where Aretha Gray was our guest. He kind of referred me, well, I kind of recalled there was a discussion that for senior care, there are a lot of people who unfortunately end up losing their life savings or their retirement or whatever, especially as seniors when they have to be sent for disabling illnesses into nursing homes, or if they just don't have enough disability care coverage. That's something also that MedCASH can provide support for in the long term. Now, Dane, as I've been talking about this entire show thus far, this is a solution that is still in development, but I'd like to know if you have any explanation to provide the audience there about the product that is in development, or if you could explain how MedCASH is trying to resolve these issues from a product standpoint.
Yes. When you look at what's in people's wallets, they have cash, they have credit cards, they have bank debit cards. If you're lucky to have cash, you can then spend it, however you want, because hopefully that is part of your disposable income. If you have a credit card, that could be a good and a bad thing. It's good if you have good credit and you pay, your balances off every month. Mm-hmm. And, a lot of people, like to spend on their credit cards because then they would get rewards miles for hotels, airlines, maybe earning points to buy a General Motors, automobile. But when you really look at that whole system, you're spending, you have to pay interest on what you're spending on the credit card, then you are getting cash back. But in order to really take advantage of those miles or those, rewards that you've accumulated, you then have to spend more money to do it. So, mm-hmm. If you had airline and hotel miles and you still want to go on vacation, it's not a free vacation. You have to then, take more money out of your bank account or even spend more money on your credit card just to go and do that, to enjoy that vacation and utilize those miles. Mm-hmm. With MedCASH, it's, simply, working with, credit unions and, banking institutions that would provide a non-interest-bearing debit transaction account. Mm-hmm. And those debit transaction accounts then can be used for, everyday purchases, whether it's at the grocery store, buying gasoline, mm-hmm. Paying for your cable or your mobile phone bill. And then essentially off of those purchases, which is money that's in your account, it gets deducted from the account, and then you get a percentage back in cash rewards. Mm-hmm. That cash then, basically sits in your debit transaction account, and then you can, use the card again, and then help pay for, an office visit copay, a prescription drug, prescriptions,
Mm-hmm.
And then essentially when you're using that card to pay for those services, you're also then getting additional cash back
Right.
into your account. So, it truly is, it's a simple, model in which, everyone does spend, they have cash outlays for just spending each month.
Mm-hmm.
But as opposed to getting rewarded in an airline mile or a hotel mile, you're getting real cash that then can be redistributed for your expenditures.
Right. So it's cash in, cash out. You use your net income that goes into the account, and to avoid the interest-bearing principal, you're looking at debit cards essentially, and then the return is your MedCAsh, which you would therefore be able to spend on your co-payments and so forth. But the model has the uniqueness of we all continue to get income put into those accounts, so there continues to be a source of making their spend for shopping and all the things you outlined. But there's this added feature that allows for us to essentially earn for our healthcare protection.
Yeah, that's correct. And, instead of, taking cash out of your wallet to pay for your copay, you could swipe your card, and then, which is the equivalent of cash, and then continue to, earn more back.
Mm-hmm. An example of that would be at the pharmacies, when you can buy things there and at the same time go to the pharmacy section to redeem.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. This is, ladies and gentlemen out there, this is a very unique business model that I've had the fortunate opportunity to become very involved with over the last several years. And I just find out there that while it continues to be a very social issue from the government standpoint, from, as Dane mentioned, the current election that's going on and how that will impact the Affordable Care Act, not to mention programs like MedCAsh going forward, the best thing right now is to maintain a community of people who, A, have chronic illness, B, are looking to be educated about all of these solutions that are out there, which unfortunately we do not get the whole picture. And overall, continue to be that voice, that group that can go ahead and explain that a program like MedCash is we taking ownership over our own healthcare needs, even though we've gotten support through other programs. I think even as I'm involved, I find a lot of unique qualities to it. I think about how, for example, I'm a very heavy Starbucks user. So I just like the fact that when I go there, and I've already seen that Howard Schultz, who created the company, 30 years ago, has based his premise on the company that every barista is not only a shareholder, but they have high quality health insurance. It's in his mission and his culture to make sure that everyone has health insurance. He has been involved in a lot of charitable programs. For those of you who are out there and know about his joint venture relationship with Oprah Winfrey, where he was able to provide cash back for her education programs in South Africa, he would be an example of an advocate who cares about his employees' needs and his consumer needs, that would be able to take the MedCash brand and really emphasize the story, the narrative that Dane and I have been explaining, because this is, at the moment, something that needs to be narrated, needs to be educated, and then once there is an understanding, the product can roll out over time and be able to show the support from the various partnerships out there that are catering to the segments of people. We all need health insurance, but there are various segments that have to be targeted through the various organizations that also, in effect, become the community at large to help support their customers and their healthcare needs. The word community in itself is kind of abstract. I think depending on who you are from a healthcare issue, whether you're a patient or whether you are an advocate or whatever, you have to think what form of community or position in that community you take on. I've spoken to many people about various groups, that are out there. There's meetup groups, there's, TED Talks, there's opportunities to speak in your class or your office or whatever. But as we all know, social media is exponential, and healthcare is not one of those hot topics today with those aware of what's going on in the media. But it has been a hot topic that regularly gets communicated about, especially when there are changes in things like the Affordable Care Act or any other kind of issues that come up, especially for illnesses like diabetes and epilepsy. I just want everyone out there to help form this community and help advocate this program. It will expedite the release of the product. Personally, I would love to see it come out before we have our next president, but timing is everything. And of course, the agreement about the MedCASH value that could be received for the individual, not to mention the group at large, is something that remains an ongoing story. And I'm hoping that Frank About Health will allow you guys to go out there and help build this community. I find it that as a MedCASH member, this is the potential for this product to be unique unto itself. But I also find that it would ease a lot of people's peace of mind. As I mentioned last week about major depressive disorder, some of the issues surrounding that is not feeling secure about receiving your adequate health coverage. I know from personal experience, alternative care becomes an option because even if it's costly, at least it provides something much more different or something much more aware for people to take hold of and take control of their health care, meditation, yoga, acupuncture, among other things. I'm sorry, Dane. I know, I think, are you on the way out, or did you have any other comments to make about MedCASH before you have to go?
No, I would say that, in addition to savings, I think that, people need to understand really what the price that they're paying. And, I would hope that at some point, we as individuals can, question the doctors, the hospitals, the clinics on the pricing of stuff, because, from everything from a CT scan to an office visit to a stay in the ICU, in the United States, they pay more than anywhere else in the world. Mm-hmm. I was reading through, an interesting report just on the economics of insurance and, medical spending. And, if you look at the prices for what we are spending on, whether it's goods and services, mm-hmm. they have little to do with their true value in terms of improving health. Mm-hmm. One example would be, if people have, heart issues with their vessels, they can either have elective angioplasty surgery, which is reopening up, the blood vessels in the heart, mm-hmm. Or they could take, certain drugs that have a similar outcome. However, just having that surgery doesn't necessarily prevent people from having heart attacks or, chest pains going further. Mm-hmm. But if you look at what the surgery is versus other alternatives, it's tens of thousands of dollars higher than, just that for people to have that surgery. Mm-hmm. And if we were truly paying for value in healthcare, then equally good options should actually have the same relative price.
Yes,
and
I agree.
That's definitely not where we are right now. So I think that, in addition to, leading a more holistic, alternative medicine type of lifestyle, when people do need to, go in and actually meet with a doctor, they should also, be smart enough and ask some questions about what actually are they paying for.
Correct.
Are there, a cheaper alternative that has the same comparable outcomes?
Right.
And then therefore, they would be able to, lower their overall expenditures that they're having to face. So that's, just something that
keep in mind. Well, Dane,
I feel is very important.
Dane, we're about to take another break, but when you get back, before you leave, I want to touch a little bit about medical tourism. So we'll be back in a minute.